Welcome to the Garden Canvas. This past week, my wife and I celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, and to do that, we actually went up to Pennsylvania and Delaware to 3 really cool gardens. And in the next few videos, I'm going to be doing some tours to allow you to see what we experienced at Longwood, Chanticleer, and Mt Cuba Center. Today, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Mt Cuba Center and what we learned from there and what we took from there as well. Mt Cuba Center is a public garden that specializes in studying native plants to find out how well they perform in the garden, because they want to produce more and more well-liked garden plants that are also native to support our native wildlife and native ecosystems. And so the goal of the Mt Cuba Center is to study those plants and find out which plants not only perform extremely well in the garden, in other words, they flower well, they have great form, they survive in different types of environments, wet environments, dry environments, shade, sun, but also they study the amount of wildlife activity on these plants, particularly flowering plants. They look for plants that support pollinators, whether it be host plants or plants that attract more and more pollinators or various pollinators to the same plant. And so I'm happy to report that I've actually collected several plants while we were up there. Some actually I purchased from Mt Cuba Center, and some we purchased from some local nurseries who have some connections with some of those native plants. So we have some top performers that I'm going to be placing in our garden over the next several days, and I'll feature some of these in videos as well. But some of the ones that I want to talk about first would be their top performers. These are, they actually break it down by class. So they've done studies on things like Echinacea, Hydrangea, Carex, Phlox, Baptisia, many other plant groups, perennial plant groups. They're also doing trials on shrubs. Right now there's a trial going on with oak leaf hydrangeas and mountain mint and things like that. So some of the plants that I'm going to be planting in the garden are top performers. Starting with Echinacea, one of the plants that we picked up while we were there is Echinacea Fragrant Angel, which was one of the top performers, listed in the top, I'd say top 10 or so. I don't remember. You could actually go to the Mt Cuba Center website and look at all the trials and read up on each cultivar or each nativar and find out how they performed in their garden trials. And Fragrant Angel was one of their top performers for both form, longevity, and pollinator attracting. But their top performer was called Pica Bella, and that's this one right here. And Pica Bella was the #1 Echinacea. It is very closely related to the Echinacea purpurea, but it has a better form, it flowers a little better, and it just has a floriferous flower, amount of flowers that it produces. It has a lot of attraction for pollinators. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of bees on this just sitting in my driveway when we got them out of the car. The second plant that I have is the Phlox. And we already have Glamour Girl, which was one of their top performers. This is Phlox paniculata, which is the upright phlox. But the #1 rated phlox was Phlox Jeana, and we picked up 3 of those. You can see one of them has some blooms right here. They have a little bit smaller bloom, but I have also seen activity on this plant while we've had it out of the car for a few hours here today as well. In addition to that, we also have Haas Halo Hydrangea, which is Hydrangea arborescens Haas Halo. This one has no flowers on it, but we picked this up at a nursery in that area. It is a little bit difficult to find. I have found very small plants available through American Meadows and a few online retailers, but I did find this at a local nursery there in Pennsylvania in the Amish country. We also have Amsonia Blue Star. This is actually Starstruck. Their Amsonia trial just completed this year, and they published the results this year, and all the Amsonias performed really well. Starstruck was one of their favorites, and we also have Amsonia hubrichtii in our garden already, which we'll be adding more of that because that is just a phenomenal plant. In addition to that, we also have Carex woodii, and Carex is an excellent sedge plant. We have Carex pennsylvanica already in our garden also, but Carex woodii was their #1 performing Carex in all of their trials. And in addition to that, we picked up a few other native plants that we'll be placing in our garden. We have little Joe Pye weed, Heliopsis, which is false sunflower. We actually picked up one of the varieties that they have in their formal gardens called Bleeding Hearts. And we also have Viburnum nudum winter thur, which will also help pollinate one of the Viburnum nudums that we already have, which is brandywine. And then we have Fothergilla blue shadow, which is a Fothergilla related to Mount Airy, but this one has really nice ice blue foliage. So those are just a few of the things in addition to the Rudbeckia triloba that just flopped over in the wind, but that will be going in the garden as well. So thank you, and I hope you guys will stay tuned for the garden tours that'll be coming in upcoming videos. Thanks a lot.